Hey everyone, it's been a while since we've done Fansview Fridays, and we are back with OhioCon 2001, which took place in Cleveland, Ohio, January 26th to 28th, 2001. We have reached 2001 on Fansview Fridays. And likewise, if this is your first time tuning in or checking out Fansview Fridays is a weekly live stream where we go through one of Kevin Lillard's many convention reports. If you don't know who Kevin Lillard was a cosplay photographer. He did and created reports about anime conventions between the late 90s to the late aughts. He ran a website called Fansview, hence the name Fansview Fridays, and Fansview was the place to check out and to go to find your cosplay photos, what happened at a convention, or if you could make it to a convention, you would get the latest news from the convention as it dropped because anime conventions were like the place to announce industry announcements, some of the you had like some of the big competitions. It was a completely different scene back then than it is today. So, with that said, Fancy Fridays is here to really preserve what Kevin contributed to the community. Fansview.com is no longer with us. However, a lot of Fansview is archived through webarchive.org. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and just walk down memory lane if you can come with me to Cleveland, Ohio. And again, the year is 2001. It is the end of January. And here we have Kazuko Tadano left and Steve Bennett right. We're at the first anime convention of the new year. Okay, we got some pictures and panels. Let's just check out the pictures first. Also, it's been really hot where I live. It's really been hot in the place where the Wisteria Cottage resides. So I might be taking frequent drink breaks because this lavender lemonade is very precious right now and it's keeping me alive. The first convention in New Year had a bunch of early arrivals. All right, let's see who came in. Who are our first arrivals? A factory on one side and an airport on the other side. Such was the site of the first anime convention in Ohio. OhioCon was held in Cleveland, a few feet from the international airport and a few miles from the shores of Lake Erie. Two people traveled as far as anyone in North America to get to the inaugural event. Superfan Rob Miles of California is on the left, and Amanda Tomash, head of Aka Animation in Vancouver, BC, is on the right. I know Rob Miles. I actually did like a fireside chat with him on Stage Zero this year at FanMay. Award-winning costumer Nikki Froberg had a few minutes to survey the scene from the balcony before she retreated to her volunteer post at the registration desk. Costumer Danny Hong, not photoed here, was transformed into a wrestling fan once he learned that World Wrestling Federation's performers were spending the weekend at the hotel. I wish. Hang on. If I click the photo, would it load? No, it doesn't load, sadly. I need to just screenshot this just for reference. The page last saw Kazuko Tadano 2 years earlier when she appeared at Anime Expo to speak about her Sailor Moon anime character designs. Here's a sneak peek at the cover design for the Studio Iron Cat's big 2001 project, a calendar of Catgirl cosplayers. Fun fact, I don't know if Steve is listening to this right now, whether it's a live version or the archive version. I actually did have a concept for his Catgirl calendar. I had like this Chinese dress, this black and red Chinese dress, and I had like a cat ears and tail to go with it. However, I was kind of a minor at the time, but I'm like, this was just kind of like one of the big things to like if you quote unquote made it as a cosplayer that you would be able to make it in his Catgirl cosplay calendar. And here's a longer peek at the Iron Cat delegation. Left to right, Steve Bennett, Doug Smith sketching in the background, and Tiki. Actors Juliet Cesario left and Scott Simpson right, best known for their Oh My Goddess roles for celebrating the success of the Blue Submarine #6 dub in which they appeared. And a good collection of costumers. All right, let's take a look at the costumers. We got Mew. I do love me some Vampire Princess Mew. Spooky season is coming right up. I do my annual viewing of Vampire Princess Mew. We got Julia and Vicious. Okay. And again, if you're familiar with the cosplayer or the fandom, feel free to shout them out in the chat. Feel free to shout them out in the comments. Oh, there's like a Escaflowne cosplayer, and then we also have a Bebop trio. I believe that is the OG Iron Mouse, except no substitutes. Things that will get me canceled online for 500 Alex. Okay, looks like we got one of the many Wolfwoods of the day. Oh, I always like looking at photos that Kevin took where you have like something going on in the background. It's like I know a lot of cosplayers tend to value taking our cosplay photos with like no people walking in the background, and we just want like a cool background at the convention. But a lot of these photos, these hall photos where there's some action going on in the background, or this person here, it looks like it's registration, is doing something, are really a testament of the time of what it looked like, and are very much a snapshot and a time capsule of 2001. We got Squall. We got Cypher. I nearly blanked out on the name. I like the guy who's in the background. He's like puckering up to Kevin. Sorry, guy in the background. We got Goku. I love the Speed Racer standing in the background. And then we have this vision of Escaflowne. Oh no. We got broken images. Let's see how far we can go. Yeah, unfortunately, not all of Kevin's photos may have survived the webarchiving.org. Well, you know what? We do what we can. There's Max from Macross7. Yesterday on Blue Sky, I talked about a fanfic I attempted to write back in the late 90s when Titanic was a huge thing. It was, well, what happened to Misa, Hikaru, Minmay? What happened to their fates? Because we never hear back from them again. So I wrote like this Titanic and space story about them, and I had like my OC character, Celine St. Laurent, named after the Canadian and after the perfume. I love that Utena. We also have Princess Kakyu. I remember like for the longest time we called Princess Kakyu Princess Fireball. That was like her fandom name for a while. All right, let's look at more pictures from OhioCon 2001. Guests of honor were caught in the middle of an opening ceremonies battle. Okay, what could be the battle? What could we be battling about? The first opening ceremonies had a special twist or taste. First, the two guys in charge of the convention got up and announced that the convention was open, took swigs from coffee cups, and proclaimed that they could make better coffee than the stuff the other one made. And suddenly, the pounding music associated with Iron Chef blasted from the loudspeakers, and a master emerged to announce a coffee making contest. The convention guys reappeared in the Iron Chef costumes, and the coffee battle was on, but it was used this time to introduce the convention's guests of honor. Translator Takayuki Karahashi was on hand to introduce artist and character designer Kazuko Tadano. Steve Bennett of Junior Iron Cat encouraged people to attend his Friday night charity roast to raise money for the American Cancer Society. Animator Jan Scott Frazier said she never had been in Ohio before, but she got close when she was at SugoiCon in 2000. For once, actor Tiffany Grant had little to say, but actor Jessica Calvello retold the chocolate milk joke. Do I want to know? More actors followed: Scott Simpson, Juliet Cesario, Michael Brady, who tried to make a Kirk Vognot joke about Ice 9, and part-time actor Doug Smith, who is mostly an artist nowadays. I am looking forward to the Golden Boy release because Doug Smith's supposed to do art on the re-release. The last actor of the ceremonies was Brett Weaver. We didn't get a picture of him wearing the Iron Chef cap. Grego is seen between the guest translators Neil Neilman on the left and Anna Exter on the right. J. Flubber Harvey, webmaster of the Anime Web Turnpike site, could claim something the other guests couldn't. He's from Ohio. All right, it's good to know that the Anime Web Turnpike is powered by Ohio, or was powered, rather. Then there was producer Jeff Thompson from The Right Stuff, who actually drank the coffee in the battle. Not at the opening ceremonies, but on hand later in the day to sign autographs were artists Tomo Hirata and Atsuko Nakijima. My bad. All right. There was a struggle of sorts at the anime match game. All right, what's going on at the anime match game? Combining the best of the 1960s game shows with the best of 21st century humor, the anime match game touched down at OhioCon for 2 shows. Previous performers, artists Elizabeth Kirkendall and actors Michael Brady, Brett Weaver, Jessica Calvello, and Tiffany Grant were joined by actor John Osborne as they tried to make sense of the silly and anime blank questions and filled a room in the process. My comedy group, Cosplay Wrestling Federation, we do something called the Snatch Game, which is based off, of course, or originally the Match Game, which turned into Snatch Game for RuPaul's Drag Race. Just kind of scroll down here. Oh, I love Jessica Calvello's googly eyes. That wins. Just to document the outside world, it snowed during the convention. I've only been to one convention where it snowed. I believe that was Katsucon, during like the huge storm, back in the 2010s. This was Friday afternoon outside the Sheraton Airport Hotel where OhioCon was held. There was plenty of snow left from the previous storms, but it had been plowed and roads and lots were dry. This was Saturday morning. Around 2 inches of snow fell overnight, coating the entire area and making slippery when walking and driving. The roads were plowed and sidewalks salted by noon, but fans and workers had a rough time as winds howled. Okay. The snow didn't stop costumers from arriving on Saturday. So let's just take a look at just some of the costumes on Saturday. We got a Cozy Pikachu. I love how they have like a Nerf gun in hand. We have Tiny Tuxedo Mask. I'm assuming that is a Sailor Pluto. Looks like we got someone from Final Fantasy VII. We got Mylene from Macross 7. Alright, just scrolling down here. We got Dan Hibiki. We got Sakura. I still need to finish this costume. We got Schoolgirl Lum. That's actually one of my dream costumes. Lum in the school uniform. I bet if I just go through like my fabric collection and just get like a green wig and like tiger horns and just maybe like wear my tiger jacket, I could probably just come up with a Lum costume. I don't know, maybe I should do that for Kumori-con, just dress up like Lum. There's Sammy. Okay, we got it. Oh, she has a Carol plush. Helena Inverse. Gotta love these Party City wigs. Again, I just like showing these photos because I just want to show people like what cosplay was like back in the early 2000s before we had like the resources we have today. I mean, granted, like if you were skilled, you kind of had to self-teach yourself. You had to take like classes like at a JC or hope that your high school still had some home economics classes to learn how to sew. Or you saved up your money and you hired Setsunako to make you a costume. Or you just kind of had to just take it as it goes. Because I know new people who use like heat and bond, hot glue to just put all their costume parts together, put all their fabric together. And they didn't have a sewing machine back then. Or like you were like me and you just had to piece together things from your closet to just figure it out. Like there was like no like Amazon next day shipping type of thing. I mean, granted, yeah, Amazon was around back then, but not the Amazon that you and I know today. Oh, we got Sakura in a yellow dress. Seeing all these Cardcaptor Sakura cosplays, like, I really want to, like, cosplay as Sakura. Oh, we got, like, Final Fantasy VIII. Because that was the style at the time. Ohayo-con had a good turnout of costumers for their first costume contest. Okay, let's just scroll down here. Got Sailor Moon. Again, if you notice any of these fandoms or any of these costumers, just shout them out in the chat, shout them out in the comments. Okay, let's take a look here. Yeah, like this is also the time when we started seeing a ton of Vash Stampede cosplayers. And the cycle would continue on for the next couple of years. Yay, Professor Tomo! Got Lena Inverse, we got Gori. I was just listening to Slayer's music the other day, like on the way to a Halloween event. It's that time of year again where we start having all the haunted houses just pop up in the middle of September. I'm like, hi, I'm all about this life. We have Utena and Anthe. We have Catgirl. I want to say that's a Luna versus Seiya, but I'm not sure. Okay, just scrolling through. Looks like this could be an idol performance of sorts, so I'm not too familiar. Of course, we got Renoa and Selfie. Where's Aquistus? I don't know. It's been a while since I've delved into characters that are not the main cast of Final Fantasy VIII. Oh, geez. The Best of Show winner wore a skimpy, topless outfit. Totoro? Totoro's practically naked. Oh, I think I've seen this cosplayer. I believe they're in the documentary by that one person. Yeah, Otaku Unite. I actually do recognize this. It's from Yursei Yatsura. All right, Best Individual. Looks like they won a Irresponsible Captain Tylor VHS. Okay, we got Sailor Moon. Got these two. And we got, I just want to, it looks like they probably went in something with like some sort of like high energy performance. So I'm just assuming like this is probably like an idol performance of sorts. Maybe just like a funny monologue. Judges Awards. I love how that there's a random hand in the background or like right in the foreground. Like stop, collaborate and listen, or talk to the hand. We also got Max from Macross 7. Really good Utena. We got a Spike Spiegel, who looks like he's about to like just take a drink of something. And we got Steve Bennett, and the award winner. Children's Awards went to Cardcaptor Sakura, Sailor Jupiter. All right, let's look at the final photos of the night. The convention turned an endless delay into a fundraising show. Ohayo-con charity hijinks. The stage presentations for Ohayo-con's costume contest lasted 1 hour. The judges needed an hour and a half to decide on the awards they handed out. That left a hall of people waiting for the verdict, but those people weren't bored or angered by the wait. In a display of spontaneous charity that was inspired the previous night's roast, the wait for the judges was filled by the fundraiser for the American Cancer Society. Anime tapes and art items were auctioned to the audience, and costumers and convention staff solicited money to do silly things on stage. While some people offered to take clothes off for donations to the cancer charity. One person offered to put clothes on. Actor Brad Weaver, who had just finished a dip in the hotel's pool, was dragged into the hall and forced to don a Ryoki costume. The crowd loved it. After the judges finally gave out their awards, Steve Bennett, the object of the charity roast, was kept on stage and told that the impromptu fundraiser had collected more money than the previous night's roast, something that delighted Bennett no end. All right, let's just take a look at like what panels were at OhioCon 2001. But first, we're going to do a quick hydration break because hydration is very important. So give me one moment here. All right, let's take a look at panels. Kazuko Tadano presented a seminar on cuteness. She created the versions of Sailor Moon costumes that most anime fans know, the versions that appear in the television show. She went on to make the elaborate costumes for the Wedding Peach series. Kazuko Tadano is a fan favorite even if she's got not a household name. People know her designs and go to great lengths to make costumes based on them. At OhioCon on Friday, she said about her designs that you may not have the costumers in mind, but it has to be a plausible costume, something that is actually wearable. On the Wedding Peach costumes, Tadano said that the wedding costumes weren't part of the original idea for the series. The transformation into those costumes is part of the wishful thinking of female fans, she said. So what makes anime characters so cute? They're not photorealistic, rather they're impressionistic characters with big eyes and small noses and flat faces, Tadano said. To illustrate her point, Tadano took a drawing board, showed how she drew a Sailor Moon face. Tadano noted that it is the first time in years she had drawn this character. She started with the chin line, then sketched the eyes and added the hairline. Diameter of the eye is as large as half face, Tadano said. It is easier to make the eyes expressive when the eyes are big. These sketches at the convention must have been like the drawings that Tadano made when she auditioned for the job as the character designer for the animated Sailor Moon. Several artists were considered for the job, and Tadano learned of the auditions with only one night to spare, barely enough time to throw together some sketches. She got the job and was part of the success when Sailor Moon grew from a temporary fill-in show to a 5-year series. Tadano also had a moment to treat the fans to her self-portrait. It's easy to do, she joked. Tadano's most recent project is a video game with her character designs, which was scheduled for a February 2001 release in Japan. This is a sentimental game. If you play it, you won't be able to stop yourself from crying, she said about the story of a character who meets females on a remote island. I heard that all of the test players for the game play it with tears in their eyes. Steve Bennett was a butt of jokes for a good cause. Steve Bennett of Student Iron Cat's tenure in the fandom goes back to the original Katsucon conventions. Bennett generated a boatload of stories from those years of events, so he was a natural subject for the first OhioCon charity roast. Animator Scott Frazier was at first at bat. Hooters with Steve is like a religion, said Frazier. It's a 3 to 4 hour experience every time. He's got to draw all the waitresses. Frazier said she had to drag Bennett out of one of those restaurants once so Steve could make a flight home. Frazier also had a special gift for Bennett. Costumer Nikki Froberg said she really appreciated how Bennett gave such semi-useful advice to the artist Doug Smith on how to handle her, and she was even more pleased that Bennett was offering herself as a roast target to raise money for the American Cancer Society. Producer Jeff Thompson of The Right Stuff noted that Bennett was everyone's friend at a convention, and it helped that Steve could read his friends' names off their membership tags. As for Bennett's appearance, if this man was dead, you'd sue the embalmer. He does not look natural. Doug Smith, the artist who recently started working for Iron Cat, said that Bennett constantly wanted him to give him massages in the office. As for Bennett's appreciation of the female figure, Smith recalled a time when he gave me the camera and said, "Go, get a picture of the lady in the red jumpsuit because I'll get in trouble if I do." And superfan Rob Miles, Steve has his term. I don't know if what it is, but he has it. For the first time in public, Miles explained the teabagging mystery surrounding Bennett. But we can't repeat it. I'm gonna screenshot this. I'm gonna have my buddy Rob explain himself. Where was Steve's trademark replica Civil War hat during these proceedings? It was in the hands of costumers Kevin Bulk, who did a wickedly accurate impression of Bennett. I like to see Professor Rams travel through time, and also just give him a roasting of his own too. All of this was for a good time, for a good cause, of course. Bennett was among friends who knew who sorry, Bennett was among friends who know how he has been hurting deep inside from the death by cancer of his father in September of 2000. Trying to turn tragedy into a chance for others. Bennett has been raising money for the American Cancer Society in honor of his late father, and the OhioCon event was part of that campaign. While Bennett's friends showed love rather than sarcasm with their jokes during the roast, they wouldn't let him go without facing the challenge of downing a drink in one gulp without his hands. Somehow, he succeeded. Alright, so we roasted Steve Bennett. What else is next? What are the secrets? What secrets are hidden inside irresponsible Captain Tylor? If we were still doing joke Twitter names, my joke Twitter name would be Irresponsible Captain Taylor Swift. It's fashionable among some anime fans to complain when changes are made to the Japanese series when it's translated into English. But what happens when the Japanese series makes major changes in its source material? That was the case with Irresponsible Captain Tylor series when it was adapted from the original novel to the animated version released in North America by The Right Stuff. Tomohiro Hirata, the character designer for the Tylor series, spoke about those changes when he appeared at an Ohayo panel on Saturday. The Tylor series is about a spaceship captain who seems clueless and always wins. It's loosely based on a series of Japanese novels. The animated series uses the novels only as a general framework and makes major changes in the original. For example, Tylor is 40 years old. In the novels, we didn't think that could make him an interesting anime character, so we made him 20 or 22, said Hirata. Basically, we rebuilt the shows from scratch, and there's more to Tyler's character that seems obvious at first. The series is the writer's response to the problem of bullying in Japanese schools, where children often feel helpless to fight back against their aggressors. If you have 10 adults and one child with contrary opinions, sometimes a child is right, Hirata said. Of course, the child in the series is Tylor. So what happened when the Tylor TV series was broadcast? Did viewers complain about the integrity of the original novels was violated? Exactly the opposite happened. According to Hirata, since the show changed so much from the novelist had to change Tylor's worldview. I had to create the cover art from all the novels. The writer incorporated the TV series version of his original character in a subsequent series of books that told the stories of Tylor's son, grandson, and great-grandson. No one could tell in those books if Tylor survived those adventures, Hirata had said. I'd like to see that, actually. All right, AMVs. I do love me some AMVs. Here's a look inside the world of anime music videos. What would draw a crowd so large that would overflow an OhioCon room? The event was part of the music video contest, one of the most popular parts of anime convention. And the 2 decades since MTV popularized the idea of short films set to popular hits, the music video has grown to become an accepted and anticipated art form. Anime music videos share in that popularity, as fans love watching the marriage of their favorite radio tunes with their favorite anime characters. 2 of the most popular music video creators spoke about their work on Saturday at OhioCon. Their multimedia personalities, Elizabeth Kirkendall, and also creates a website, and Anna Exter is a busy translator for anime shows. Both producers noted that it's possible to create music videos without expensive professional equipment to edit tapes using time codes, but it takes a feature that's not on most consumer VCRs. Look for a machine that lets you record music using the VCR's linear tracks and then separately edit video without changing the audio, and you can create videos, they said. Budding video makers wanted to know how long they'll need to create those short sorry. Budding video makers wanted to know how long they'll need to create those short subjects. Exter said that one of her best videos, the Rain video, set to clips of rain sequences from anime shows, took her 5 years to finish. She did a short section of the video, went on to the other projects, and went back to Rain when she got more ideas. What comes first, the clips or the music? I lay down the track of music and record the video onto that, Exter replied. It's the video you're shaping into the music instead of the other way around, Kirkendall said. It really helps to have the lyrics in front of you, so you have to follow the structure of the song. Most of the songs, the strongest structure is the beat, said Kirkendall, and said the video creators need to edit the visuals to match the beat and the obvious points of emphasis in the song they are using. There's also more to the technique and business of animation production. Remember this figure from the opening animation at the November 2000 AkaCon in Vancouver, British Columbia? The AkaCon character was created by Aka Animation of Vancouver, the company that also backed convention. This page was able to show the character and the costumer, but this is the first look at the drawings that made up the short film. The drawing and the other examples of what gets into making a short film were brought to OhioCon for fans to enjoy. Bridging the artwork was Amanda Tomash, who runs the Aka studio and convention. She gave fans a primer of standard animation technique, covering the walls of a meeting room with examples of the shorthand that animators use to create a film. Animation is like baseball or football in the number of inside phrases to describe a character movement changes inside a frame of film, from head bobs to pans and fades. People who get into the business need to know this language, and Tomash said that the best place to learn is in Vancouver, home to one of the top animation schools in North America. Animation lent this technique to live action films. The storyboard, the layout for frames that shows what movement will happen in each shot of an animated film. It's simple, but it's important to getting the finished product right. And according to Tomash, it's lucrative work. Artists can make up to $60,000 for a finished storyboard, and that's a kind of skill that can be useful in all aspects of filmmaking. Storyboarding is one of the few places where artists can be certain to make a decent living from the animation industry, Tomash warned. Jobs are few, budgets tend to be tight, and jobs last no more than a few months on TV shows and major projects. Many animators end up doing cleanup work on jobs farmed by the larger studios, making small wages as they wait for big chances to arrive, and those big chances likely will be on shows that are not run under union production, she cautioned. What do English language voice actors think about their critics? Alright, haters gonna hate. So you don't like an anime dub because the performance sound flat or strained? Don't blame the performers, said a group of actors who appeared at OhioCon on Saturday. Instead, consider that there's a good chance that the voice director messed up. On this panel, left to right, John Osborne, Michael Brady, and Juliet Cesario and Scott Simpson had some stories about odd direction. Osborne had a great tale about dubbing Fushigi Yugi, where the director gathered a group of actors to fill in the sounds for a crowd and said, just say the sort of things you say in ancient China. Of course, none of the actors had been in ancient China. I love this story. Which is why Simpson said it's hard to get too critical of actors in an anime dub unless you know the actors were directed to do. Still, the actors know that fans are going to be demanding of their dub performances, especially on a show like Oh My Goddess, which was a fan favorite before it was dubbed. We realize that this is sacred material, said Simpson. This familiar shows are easier to work on, such as Blue Submarine number 6 dub that came out of the studio, which often employs Cesario and Simpson. The Submarine show got a lot of attention when it was shown on Cartoon Network cable service in 2000. It was great to be able to call my relatives and tell them, hey, look what we did on the Cartoon Network, said Cesario. How can you judge a performance when the character isn't human? A second group of actors, left to right, Doug Smith, Brett Weaver, Jessica Calvello, and Tiffany Grant, spoke how they had to voice a number of monsters and demons. Weaver was the roar of the bizarre huge-headed dragon from Slayers, the motion picture. Remember the forced perspective joke? Weaver even had to voice the girl ones and came close to convincing his director. And Calvello took on a role of a metallic floating teddy bear in the online Chi-Chian animation series. Asuko Nakajima spoke about redesigning Ranma one half for animation. Even the most popular manga characters need to be redesigned for animation. The detailed lines that makes manga characters so popular and vibrant must be simplified so they can be reduced to cell form without long delays in drawing details. The anime industry typically hires artists to handle this character design work, and Asuka Nakajima has gotten some of the best design jobs. She reviewed the characters for the animated Moldiver, You're Under Arrest, Ranma One Half, among other series. The Ranma One Half series provided Nakajima with her first and favorite character design work. It was one of the longest running shows I worked on, and that made a lasting impression, she said. Once I finish designing one character, that leads to ideas for another character. I never get stuck that way, said Nakajima. The audience at the panel discussion was asked if they preferred the more realistic looking of the 1990s anime shows or the appearance of the Ranma One Half characters. And the fans showed that they preferred the look of the Ranma characters. That pleased Nakajima, who said about Ranma, that was a fun show to work on. One fan asked Nakajima if she ever got tired of her job. I don't get bored with work, although I'd like to work on a different show every once in a while. I never dislike my character, she said. However, Nakajima acknowledged that she does get more pleasure out of making her own paintings than in setting up character designs that will be drawn and colored by other artists. Since I have full control of the watercolor medium, I like that the best, she said, adding that she sometimes is less than overwhelmed by the animation cells that are produced from her character designs. Alright, we're about to go into final thoughts section. The author emptied his notebook from the first event of 2001. Notes from an author who can't believe he screwed up more hyperlinks on his page over the weekend. OhioCon turned out to be the sort of a small convention that fans say they want to attend. The only rough spot seen by this author during the 2 days he was on hand was the crowd that spilled out of the room that was used to screen music video contests. Everything else went well, and OhioCon was one of the best first-time conventions held in recent months. The Iron Chef flavored opening ceremonies were fun. The charity roast combined the right blend of silliness and sentimentality. The entry of 31 groups for the costume contest showed that the new convention had some strong appeal for fans, and the hotel staff took the collection of oddly dressed strangers in stride. The guest list for this first-time convention was as good, if not better, than the guest list for established events. The author didn't have presence of any of mine to ask who attended, but it looked as if there was an even split between those people who attend most of the events east of the Mississippi and first-time attendees. If the organizers can build the inaugural event success, they won't have a small convention for long unless there's another world. I'm gonna have to take a drink for this as someone who is a part of Cosplay Wrestling Federation, and I do wear my NECA World Order shirt a lot to conventions. If the organizers can build on an inaugural event success, they won't have a small convention for long unless there's another World Wrestling Federation show in town on the same weekend. Wrestling and anime fans were in ecstasy over the weekend when they learned that the WWF was performing at the Gun Arena on the convention's Friday night. It got better when they learned that some of the Federation's performers were staying at the hotel. The most ardent wrestling otaku were seen to wander the halls in a blissful daze, murmuring, "I saw The Undertaker, and I was in the same elevator with Steve Austin." For the hardcore costumers and others who followed the best of show winners wore a skimpy topless outfit. Link from the pictures page saw the overall costume contest winner as was a guy dressed as a grown-up Jaratan from Urusei Yatsura and wondered what happened. There's an explanation. Hang on, I need to screenshot this really quick. Yes, there were more elaborate costumes in the contest. There were a lot of compliments for the Galaxy Fräulein Yuna costumes, but no one had the stage presence of Kevin Rama Bulk's monologue about an adult Jiraten who lamented about how he was once the biggest star in anime, lost it all because he was reduced to living in a box in a parking lot, all because he wouldn't wear clothes. You had to see that act to appreciate it. It was one of the best cases where this page format of still pictures can't convey the best part of the presentation. Imagine the greater dilemma that people felt in Cleveland, the home of the new convention. As OhioCon wound down on Sunday night, people south of Lake Erie had to decide if they would watch a Super Bowl 936 miles away and cheer for the Cleveland Browns. You're wondering if the author lost his mind because the big football game featured the New York Giants and the Baltimore Ravens. The NFL calls the AFC, former AAFC team, the Ravens, but everyone in Cleveland knows they're really the Browns. The team that was moved from Ohio to Baltimore because of Art Modell, the owner, wanted more money than anyone in Cleveland was willing to pay. No one was fooled in Cleveland by the dark and purple uniforms and the bird on the helmets. They knew the team is really the Browns, the team stolen from them, but they didn't know if they should cheer for them because they still love the old team or against them because they hate Modell with a passion. Baltimore fans were happy because their Colts were swiped and smuggled into Indianapolis. So they stole the Browns. The Giants weren't much better. They had NY on their helmets, and they hadn't played a game in New York in years. Home field for the Giants is in New Jersey. At least OhioCon was in Ohio, and the state's first anime convention. Last year, SugoiCon was in Kentucky, a safe distance from Cincinnati. Final score: Cleveland Browns 34, East Rutherford Giants 7. Cleveland shuddered at the sight of Modell with the Vince Lombardi trophy. Cleveland had one surprise for anime fans that Cincinnati didn't. On the final day of the convention, the Plain Dealer ran a New York Times story about anime. With the headline, Wave of Violence is Engulfing Children's Programs, the writer concentrated on the fight scenes in anime and notes the increase in Japanese animation shows on US television, but it got its genres confused. The story took a wrong turn when it said Pokemon is considered the major catalyst for this type. Of course, comparing the toy-driven Pocket Monsters kids show to the more violent forms of anime is like saying that the Smurfs led to NYPD Blue because they're both shot on film. The big question about the inaugural OhioCon wasn't the attendance or the number of guests. It was the weather. January in the Midwest means cold weather at best and snow at worst. OhioCon was 7 miles south of Lake Erie, one of the bodies of water responsible for the beloved phrase, lake effect snow. At the end of the week leading to the convention, snow popped into the weather forecast for Friday and Saturday, an inch or less of snow accumulation, read from the forecast. That's a light of dustings of snow from the south shore of Lake Erie. The weather arrived on schedule and dropped a couple of inches of fresh snow on Cleveland from Friday afternoon to late Friday night. By breakfast time on Saturday morning, most of the accumulation had been plowed and shoveled from major roads and sidewalks. There was nothing to hint that the snow had any impact on the convention other than people who got snow on their shoes while walking through the parking lots. The weekend's weather had another sad, ironic impact. One of the author's friends was found waiting in the lobby on Saturday afternoon, lamenting that he wasn't going to be able to get home to Oklahoma City because the airport was closed due to an ice storm. As fate would have it, he was lucky to stay in Ohio for another day. That same storm, which covered most of the U.S. from the Rockies to the Southwest, was the weather in which a King Air crashed on Saturday afternoon in Colorado, killing 2 members of the Oklahoma State basketball team and team officials who were headed back home from a game. I know, a little bit of a morbid way to end OhioCon. But yeah, we're in 2001. And if you made it this far and checking out Fansview Fridays, thank you again for listening in and learning about a piece of anime fandom history in the United States. And before we part ways, let me just tell you about my book, The Fangirl Diaries. I wrote a book called The Fangirl Diaries. This is all about this era of anime fandom. I talk about what it was like to be raised on Sailor Moon, recording your favorite episodes of anime, recording your favorite anime on TV using a VCR timer, figuring out cosplay, figuring out convincing your parents um, to go to your first anime convention, and what cosplay conventions were like before the era of streaming, before the era of social media. And I highly recommend checking out my book. Link in the comments, link in the description. If you can't afford my book, because I know the world is crazy right now, you can always request your library to get a copy of my book, either digital or physical. So you can definitely request a copy of my book for your library to have on hold for you. I really encourage to use the libraries, especially in this day and age. And with that said, thank you for checking out Fansview Fridays. I very much appreciate it. Keep supporting us. We have a Ko-Fi where you can donate to our channel so we can continue on archiving Kevin Lillard's convention reports. Any support, any donation would be very much appreciated in helping archive Kevin Lillard's memories so history does not get lost in the ether. With that said, thank you so much. We'll be back again for another Fansview Fridays next week. I'm very excited to be doing 2001. We might have some special guests along on the way. And again, I will see you next week at my virtual cottage.